Hello, this is Juan Bejarano Gutierrez. I wanted to talk about this book. I didn't actually write this book, but it's a book that I found in Mexico when I traveled there in 2018 to visit the family of my wife. And it's called Historias y Leyendas de Mexico, the History and Legends of Mexico. It's the second volume. And you can see it has sort of an eerie picture here of a skeleton. It's got some ghost stories. It's got some classic stories regarding Mexican legends and things of that nature. But what drew me to this book is that I was looking for books on the Inquisition and Sephardic history. And as I was going through these different things, I figured, hey, it might be good to look at this particular book because there might be some kind of story regarding the presence of Jews in Mexico, in colonial Mexico. And sure enough, I found one. Let me see if I can find it real quick just to show you. It says La Judía Crucificada, the crucified Jew. Now, as I went through the book, I sort of assumed what the tale would be about, that it would involve some type of crypto-Jewish story, a conversa, descendant of Jews who had converted to Christianity in Spain and then migrated, something of that nature. And quite interestingly and amazingly, I was shocked. I was shocked because the story, in essence, turned the tale 180 degrees. And what I mean by that is that it was a tale of the Inquisition, as I expected, but it portrayed the Jews, the crypto-Jews in this particular case, as the villains. In the story, this young girl falls in love with an old Christian, the term that was used for individuals who were not from Jewish or Muslim parentage. They were essentially the descendants of the Visigoths in Castile and Aragon and so forth. And they represented the old Christians in contrast to new Christians who were Jews and Muslims who had converted to Christianity. And in the story, her father is a crypto-Jew. He's observant of Jewish rites and ritual, even though he's living an outward Christian life. And what he does is he finds out that his daughter is in love with an old Christian and that she is intending to convert to Christianity so that she can marry him. And in a fit of rage, what he does is essentially what the Inquisition would do. And this is where the amazing aspect of it is, and the horrific aspect of it is, because what's happened in the legend is that the actions of the Inquisition have been placed upon Jews. He tortures her, he kills her, and he crucifies her. And then eventually it's found out, the Inquisitors come as the heroes, and then wind up, of course, executing him and other individuals. And so, of course, what we have here is something that's turned completely on its head. Historically, the Inquisition in Spain from 1478 onwards was targeting one specific issue, at least for the first roughly 40 years, we might say, until about 1520, and that was the presence of Judaizers. And who was a Judaizer? Individuals who were Jews themselves who had converted, or their descendants who had converted to Christianity under various circumstances, often under duress, under pain of execution or violence, I should say, stemming from the pogroms of 1391 and then continuing through subsequent violence in the early part of the 15th century and the 1400s, and then several other things that happened during that period of time. And so the Inquisition was interested in ferreting out anyone who they saw as continuing Jewish practice, which was the case among many conversos, among many who had converted. And so when they found out about an individual that was accused of this, they would be arrested. There would be an opportunity for the individual to confess. And as part of the confessional process, they had to essentially implicate other individuals that they believed might have been practicing crypto-Judaism, because if they did not, then they would essentially be considered not to have provided a complete confession. And so in this particular case, what happens is all of the atrocities and the evils of the Inquisition are transferred onto the Jew, the father in this particular case, which is amazing. And I think in many ways it highlights the complexity of how the Jewish presence in Latin America has been transformed into a negative manner, and a negative light, I should say. And it reminds me, when I went to first visit my wife in 2010, we met on a Jewish dating site. And I went to meet her, essentially, in Mexico City in 2010. And as I got into the cab, as my Rabbi Byron L. Sherwin of blessed memory would say, I wasn't dressed in full battle dress, as he liked to joke. And that was, I had a hat. Even now, I always have like a very discreet kippah. My seat were inside. There was nothing there to identify me as Jewish. And as I got into the cab, the driver starts making comments about Jews. And I, being in Mexico City, I've been there before, maybe once or twice, but it was a very unsettling situation for me because I didn't know how to respond. I could be very, forceful and say, I don't think this is appropriate and this is why. But obviously not knowing the city, I felt to look a little bit more tempered in my response. And I sort of looked to change the dynamic of the conversation. But it highlighted to me a series of assumptions and a series of attitudes that exist toward Jews historically, and then, of course, in today's Jewish community in Mexico. And I think it's amazing. Again, if you're interested, it's a book that I would recommend, only in the sense of highlighting this very twisted view of history and how it's come down in a particular legend, but also, of course, looking at other material that highlights an accurate perspective on the presence of Jews in Mexico during the conquest and thereafter, and the presence of the Mexican Inquisition, and of course the Inquisition throughout Latin America in the different viceroyalties.